How about this? This is probably the biggest one in our culture. You ought not judge. In fact, if you're a Christian, they'll say, Jesus said don't judge. Why are you judging, you hypocrites? All right, that's right. Let's leave Jesus aside for just a second. What's the logical problem with the claim? Yeah, if somebody says you ought not judge, you might want to ask them, isn't that a judgment? Or if they say don't judge, you might want to say, then why are you judging me for judging? You say, well, but didn't Jesus say don't judge? Nope, never said it. Sure he did. He said it in Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. This is the middle of his most famous sermon, the Sermon on the Mount. All right. I know this is going to sound odd for just a minute, but stick with me. There are no verses in the Bible. There are no verses in the Bible. You think when Matthew was writing his biography of Jesus that we call a gospel, he said, here's chapter 7, verse 1. No. When were the chapter and verse divisions put in? Yeah, about 500 years ago to help us navigate the text, which is important, right? Imagine if you didn't have any numbers in your Bible and the pastor didn't have any numbers in his, and you went to church one Sunday and he had this big book and he just opened it up and he said, let's go about 2/3 of the way in. Let's see if we can find the same spot, right? You couldn't do that, right? You need numbers in there to help you find things. The problem is we tend to think if it's got a number in front of it, we can take it out and make it say whatever we want. You can't do that. Now, some of you are going to hate me for this, but I don't care. I'm leaving tonight. So won't be back probably after this. This is why you should never say Jeremiah 29:11 is a promise to you if you're a Christian. Oh, you know Jeremiah 29:11. Oh, the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope in the future. This is on birthday cards. This is on pillows. This is on coffee mugs. This is on posters. It's everywhere. And it's not a promise to 21st century Christians. Who's that a promise to? Who's that written to? Yes, it's written to the exiles who were taken forcibly out of Judah in 586 BC and taken to modern-day Iraq or Babylon by the dictator Nebuchadnezzar. And God, through Jeremiah, was promising them that 70 years later he was going to prosper them and bring them back to the land. It's not a promise to us. Yet I hear people, I'm going to claim Jeremiah 29:11. When they do that, I say, why don't you claim Jeremiah 44:11? What's Jeremiah 44:11? Jeremiah 44:11, it was what God promised to do to the exiles that went to Egypt. And he warned them, don't go to Egypt. You know what Jeremiah 44:11 says? It says, I will destroy you and all Judah. You don't see that stitched into a pillow. You don't see that on a coffee mug. You don't see that on a birthday card, happy birthday. I will destroy you and all Judah. That is so sweet, Grandma. Thank you so much. No. We're taking stuff out of context. And the same thing is true when we take Matthew 7:1 out of context. Does Jesus just say, judge not, and he stops right there? No, what does he say? Judge not, lest you be judged. By the same standard you judge others, you be judged by that standard. So before you try and take the speck out of your brother's eye, you hypocrite, notice that's a judgment. Take the log out of your own eye first, then you'll be better able to help your brother. And then he starts talking about don't cast your pearls before swine, which requires another series of judgments. Is Jesus telling us not to judge here? No, he's telling us to take the speck out of our brother's eye. That involves making a judgment. He's simply saying, get that problem out of your life first so you can better help your brother. So this is not a command not to judge. It's actually a command on how to judge. Don't judge hypocritically. If you've got that problem, fix it, then go help your brother. It would be completely ridiculous to say don't make judgments. Why? Number one, it's a judgment itself. Number two, you'd be dead already if you didn't make judgments. You made 100 judgments just getting over here tonight. And now you're going, this was a bad judgment. This guy's crazy. Why am I here? No. Everybody's making judgments. Atheists are making judgments. What judgments do they make? There's no God. Jesus didn't rise from the dead. There is no objective meaning to life. When you die, you just become worm food. It's hopeless. Have a nice day. Right? These are all judgments. The question isn't whether or not you can make judgments. The question is, are your judgments true? I will say this, Jesus did save a very stern rebuke for people who were judgmental. And who were the judgmental ones in his day? Pharisees. Who were the Pharisees? What was their job? What did they do? Yeah, they were the religious and political leaders. They were on the Sanhedrin, to whom Rome delegated much of the day-to-day legal-making authority. In other words, they were the politicians in Israel. And Jesus went after these people. Are you telling me Jesus got involved in politics? Yes! And he wasn't so nice doing it. In fact, if you think Jesus was a sweet guy who's never said a bad word about anyone, you have not read John chapter 2, John chapter 8, or Matthew chapter 23. What happens in John chapter 2? Jesus makes a whip and he goes and he jacks people up in the temple. Sweet and gentle Jesus said this? Yes. And then in John chapter 8, he's arguing with these same political Pharisees, these religious politicians. He's right in the middle of the argument with them when he says, your father is the devil. Jesus, you can't say that. That's not very Christ-like. Excuse me, I am Christ. Can you imagine you're having an argument with somebody and you stop right in the middle and you go, your father is the devil. Never try that with a sibling, by the way. And then in Matthew 23, Jesus really goes after these Pharisees. What does he say? Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Oh, you look great on the outside, you're whitewashed tombs, but on the inside, you're full of dead men's bones. You go a mile to make a convert, and then once you make him a convert, you make him twice as much a son of hell as you are. How will you avoid being condemned to hell? What? Sweet and gentle Jesus said this? Yes, Jesus was not Barney. Can't we all get along, boys and girls? No! In fact, I came to bring a sword. It's going to divide mother and daughter, father and son. How often have you heard those passages spoken about? Do you know Jesus did not come to bring unity? He came to bring a sword that's going to divide you, if you're a Christian, from the world. He wants unity in the church. And some of you know, because you're Christians in here, that those verses are true. Why? Because some of you are divided in your own family over Jesus. By the way, I've noticed one other thing about judging. You ever notice when you compliment somebody, which is a judgment, nobody gets upset? You know, if you say to your best friend, I really love you, you're such a wonderful person, I wish I could be like you, you think your friend's going to say, well, who are you to judge? No, they're never going to say that. See, I've noticed that people don't have a problem with judging, they just have a problem with judgments they don't like. In fact, if you tell somebody something that's true and they get upset with you, you just help convict them. As Augustine said, we love the truth when it enlightens us. We hate the truth when it convicts us. A few military people in here, you always get more flack when you're over the target. If you tell somebody something that's true and they're shooting back at you, you're over the target. They don't want their evil deeds exposed. Men love darkness rather than light, said Jesus. So we have to tell the truth and we have to make judgments, but we have to do it without being judgmental. In fact, Jesus said, stop judging by mere appearances and make a right judgment. You know, you got to make a judgment whether to be a Christian or not. Got to make judgments every day. But we can't be judgmental. For you Christians in here, by the way, none of us are going to make it to God because we're better than anyone else. The only way we make it is on what He did, not what we do. We just trust in Him.